lying on your side, and the pain in your jaw has a pulse. It arrived 4 days ago and has not stopped since. Not to eat, not to sleep, not once. There is nothing to take for it. No one has invented anything that helps. There is only this night, and then the one after that. So what do you do? Northern Italy, 14,000 years ago. A man about 25 years old in a rock shelter called Villa Bruna. His lower right molar holds one large cavity with 4 separate carious lesions inside it. The walls carry fine striations. The enamel is chipped along the rim. Those marks were made with a pointed piece of flint, and they were made while he was alive. Scratching, levering. It is the oldest undisputed case of dentistry in our own species, and he is one man. Stretch the record across 60,000 years, and everyone like him still fits into a handful of specimens. For everyone else, on almost every night, there was nothing at all. That gap is what the rest of this is about. A handful of people who tried something, one tree, and a cave in Morocco 15,000 years old. It wrecks what everybody believes about prehistoric teeth. You might know this pain, or you know someone who does, the one who goes quiet at a table, hand flat against the jaw. It is a small injury, about a grain of rice worth of infection. And the reason a grain of rice can take a grown man apart is architecture. The pulp, nerve, blood supply, the living part of the tooth, sits in a rigid chamber of dentine, one narrow exit at the tip of the root. Inflamed tissue swells, swelling needs room, there is none. Pain like that, spontaneous, throbbing, waking you in the dark, has a name in modern dentistry: symptomatic, irreversible pulpitis. Today, that stage means a root canal or an extraction. So why is it always worse at night? Dentists generally explain it this way: flat on your back, more blood reaches the head. Pressure that already had nowhere to go gets a little more of it. So when someone in the Paleolithic could not sleep, that was information. The night was the diagnosis. Did anyone ever get help? A few did. Riparo Friedian in Tuscany about 13,000 years ago. 2 upper front teeth, both with the pulp chamber widened while the person was still alive, then packed with a mix of bitumen, plant fibers, and what are probably hairs. Front teeth, hollowed out, filled with tar, and the wear on that filling shows they went on chewing with it. Mehrgarh in Baluchistan, Pakistan, between 7,500 and 9,000 years ago. Out of a burial ground of roughly 300 people, 11 drilled molar crowns in 9 adults. Every hole made in a living mouth. Inside those holes are concentric ridges, the signature of a rotating tool, most likely a bow drill tipped with flint. Every one is a first or second permanent molar, too far back for anyone to admire, which rules out decoration. 4 have decay around the hole. What the other 7 were for, nobody can say yet. And the flint tips at that site are the ones they used for making beads. A hand that spent its life drilling shell for necklaces turned on a living jaw. Copied on a real molar, the hole took under a minute. Under a minute is a long time when it is your molar. The oldest claim of all is also the shakiest. A 2026 study argues that a Neanderthal molar from Siberia was deliberately hollowed out to the pulp. The tooth is roughly 59,000 years old, and the study reads the wear afterwards as a sign that whoever it belonged to went on living. One of its authors, John Olson, called it basically a root canal. Rachel Kalischer, who was not part of that work, calls the data beautiful. She agrees a stone tool was probably involved, but she is not convinced it was intentional. She says the hole could have widened through ordinary wear. Now count what I just named. 3 sites, plus the man we started with. That is all of it, across the whole of prehistory. Every one of them is the exception that got noticed. So what did the rest of them take? Start with the drink. The oldest fermented beverage anyone has chemically confirmed comes from a Neolithic village at Jiahu in central China. Rice, honey, and fruit read out of the residue inside pottery. It comes 5,000 years after the man at Villa Bruna, which is how far he was from the nearest drink on Earth. Then the poppy. The oldest securely dated poppy seeds in Western Europe come from central Italy, around 5,500 years before the Common Era. Grown, the archaeobotanists think, for seeds and oil. And the line about Sumerians calling it the plant of joy is a factoid taken apart in the peer-reviewed literature. Somebody else can have that fight. Which leaves one man, El Cidrón, in Spain, somewhere between 42 and 50,000 years ago. A Neanderthal with an abscess showing as a hole in his jawbone. The hardened plaque on his teeth carried DNA from poplar, and poplar contains salicylic acid, a chemical relative of the active ingredient in aspirin. Whether he knew what it did, we can't say. His own researchers put it no stronger than that he may have been self-medicating. And because somebody is going to reach for this, salicylic acid in chewed bark is a weak, unpredictable dose with no basis at all for touching an inflamed pulp. He is archaeology. He is not a treatment. 60,000 years of this. The entire record of pain relief runs to one jaw, one tree, and an argument about whether the man understood either. But hunter-gatherers didn't get cavities, right? Taferalt says otherwise. A cave in Morocco between 15,000 and 13,700 years ago. Thousands of years before farming. 51.2% of adult teeth carried a carious lesion. Out of 52 adults, 3 had no cavities. 3. The researchers put that beside modern populations eating refined sugar, and the comparison holds. They ate acorns and pine nuts ground on stone, sticky, sweet enough, packed hard into the grooves of the back teeth. On average, foragers really did have fewer cavities than farmers. That much of the myth is true, and it is the reason the rest of it survives. Now, the number that matters here. Abscesses show in 5.4% of all the sockets at Taferalt. In the old adults, 19.8%. Tooth loss during life, 7.5% overall, 29% in that same older group. It accumulated. Live long enough, and the odds of an abscessed jaw came close to 1 in 5. And Taferalt is not a freak site. A reanalysis of 185 archaeological sites, more than 70% overlap in cavity rates between foragers and farmers. And no significant difference at all in tooth loss or abscessed jaws. And the ones who did have clean teeth, they didn't get out either. Cavities were one road in, wear was the other. Grit off the grindstone, sand in the meat, decade after decade of chewing. The crown grinds down, the enamel goes, the dentine goes. Eventually the roof of the pulp chamber is worn open to the mouth, and the nerve is infected without a single cavity ever forming. Which brings up a Neanderthal upper jaw from Covaferrada near Valencia in Spain. An adult, 35 to 45 years old. 3 teeth still in place, all worn down almost to the gum line. Serious gum disease. At the canine, the bone had receded by 8 millimeters. And on the sides of 2 of those teeth, 2 grooves, about 5 millimeters long, a millimeter across. Walls softened by use, which is how you know they were made while he was alive. Something narrow, worked in again and again. Wood or bone. 0 cavities in that mouth. 0 abscess. The researchers read it as heavy wear, opening gaps that trap food against exposed roots. The probing, they say, may be considered early evidence of treatment to relieve sore gums. Picture him. Perfect teeth by the standard everybody repeats. 35 years old, working at his own gums with a sliver of wood. In the dark, because it is the only thing that touches it. There was no version of prehistory where you were safe. Here is where it goes when nobody stops it. The pulp dies. The infection moves out through the root tip into the tissue underneath. Then into the fascial planes of the neck, the sheets of connective tissue that muscles slide against. When it fills the floor of the mouth on both sides, that is Ludwig's angina. It usually starts from a lower second or third molar. The swelling pushes upward and the airway begins to close. Before antibiotics, that killed more than half the people who got it. Today, treated quickly, it kills around 8%. Between 70 and 90% of adult cases begin in a tooth, and the usual cause of death is the airway closing. An untreated dental infection can still spread and turn life-threatening. And today it can be treated with a dentist, an emergency room, a dental school, a community clinic. Nobody can hand you the matching figure for the man at Villa Bruna. That number has never existed. Sepsis and a blocked airway kill in days. Bone takes weeks to react to anything at all. So the skeletons hand us the abscess and keep the death. Everyone we have counted lived long enough for the jaw to record it. The ones it killed fast left no mark to find. Every figure in this video is a floor. The ceiling is unknown. Go back to the side you cannot lie on. 4 days in, and the jaw still has a pulse. He gets up when it is light, because the day does not care. He chews on the other side. He works. And a few weeks from now, the pain will fade, one way or another. The nerve finishes dying, or the tooth loosens and goes, or the swelling finds the floor of his mouth and finishes him instead. He does not get to know which one is walking toward him. You have had a version of that night. Most people have. Yours ended. That is the whole distance. What changed was not our tolerance for pain. What changed is that the night acquired an end, somewhere to be at 9 in the morning. A person whose entire job is the thing screaming in your face. He lay there because the alternative had not been invented yet, and that took some of them with it. Give him a clinic and he would have run to it, the way you would. Your jaw stops hurting because someone can reach it. All the research is in the pinned comment, every paper, every date. If you want to argue with one of them, that's what it's there for.